it's time to get some more work done on the Mini. So I've had loads of parcels this last week or so. They're all here, and I'm going to show you what I've got. And this video is going to be full of all sorts of bits and pieces, from cooling system, plumbing, to brake system, to whatever. I've got some work to do on the exhaust too. So I'm going to go through all the bits and pieces I've got and what we've got to do. Right, and so most of my bits and pieces are in this box. I've been doing a lot of ordering. I've got a hose adapter that will go from the coolant hose on the engine down to the size of the Mini radiator. Now, pardon me, I don't think that'll quite reach the radiator, so I'm going to have to perhaps trim it down a little bit each end. I've got a joiner piece here that fits into there, little aluminium joiner, so that'll fit into there. Then I need another piece of hose that goes onto there, onto the bottom of the Mini radiator. So that's one piece. I've got a cooling fan. It's a 9-inch fan that should fit on the back of the standard Mini radiator with some of these fittings. I don't know quite which ones to use yet or how they work, but I'm sure we'll work it out, won't we? I've got this hose that replaces, you've probably seen in previous videos, I've got a long mild steel piece that I've kind of cobbled, bodged together. That's going to replace that. It goes across the top of the engine to the top hose, and also it looks quite nice and shiny, doesn't it? So that's another piece. I've got some brake pipe fittings ready for plumbing up the brakes. These are 5/8 with the little shoulder on. I've got a brake and clutch master cylinder. Now these are very similar size body to the Mini ones. I've got a pipe goes in there, fluid in there, and then they sit, and those holes, that spacing is exactly the same as the Mini one. So they'll fit on the bulkhead, and there'll be enough gap between these and the inlet manifold plenum chamber on the engine compared with the standard Mini items. I've got these fluid reservoirs. I've got that little adapter on, pigtail adapter. I've also got some half nuts. So the idea is I'll make a bracket that this will sit into, and then I'll attach that nut. That'll secure it to the bracket. This fitting will go on the bottom there like that, and then I can run a length of hose from there round to where the master cylinder is, because I need to mount these away from where the normal location is, over by the coolant header tank over the gearbox. So I've got two of those remote reservoirs, so one clutch and one brake master cylinder with remote reservoirs, and the necessary fittings. These little fork things that go down through onto the brake pedal and clutch pedal attached to the end of the master cylinders. And I've got some little plastic hose reducers. These are for the heater hoses and for the header tank to plumb in. So lots and lots of little bits and pieces to get on with. And I've also got two of these little oxygen sensor bungs that I need to drill into the exhaust and weld these into the exhaust. So I need to do that, and that's just a piece of pipe in there. I've got a flexi to put in the exhaust. This is stainless steel, 2-inch. Pipe will fit in there, weld it on. So I've got to cut a section that size out of the exhaust and fit that. So plenty to be getting on with, really. Hopefully once all of these bits and pieces are fitted, we'll be a lot closer to being able to run the engine for a bit longer. There's a couple of pieces I'm missing that will prevent me from doing that, but it's certainly getting a lot closer to being able to start the engine. So stick around, and there'll be a few time lapse while I get bits installed and bits chopped up and welded together and whatnot, but hopefully we'll see greater progress later on. And also I've got an exhaust manifold gasket and manifold studs. So once I've done these, welded on these bungs, all these threaded pieces for the oxygen sensors, I can fit the manifold with the gasket and hopefully we can hear what it sounds like. Right, I've got the exhaust fitted, oxygen sensors in. I'm going to grab the battery from over there on the bench, get it fitted, and then we'll see if we can start it. My battery died while I was videoing it starting up and running. All the sensors and stuff are connected, so I'll just do it one more time and we can have a look, can't we? So that is the engine running with the full exhaust system, much quieter than it was without one. A few little blows on the exhaust manifold I've got to sort out. I'm not going to do that yet. What I'm going to work on next is getting the cooling system plumbed in and getting that filled with water, because once that's plumbed and I've wired my radiator fan in, I can let it run for a bit longer, and that'll do two things. One, make sure the idle drops down when it warms up, and two, I'll get a little bit more soot out of the leaks in the exhaust, and I'll be able to see where they are and get them welded up. So the next job is going to be more time lapse, getting the cooling system bits and pieces done. So I don't know how much of that you saw because the camera was having a few little upset moments, so I'm going to show you what I've got. A reducer going from that thermostat housing to this 26mm pipe. It's the same diameter as the mini top hose. That's to replace that thing I'd cobbled together that's over there on the bench. This hose then needs to join to this one where it goes into the top of the radiator. That is going to have a joiner piece with a temperature sender in there, so I'll probably need to trim one of those back a little bit. From the expansion tank, I've got this small piece of hose coming out here to a joiner that goes to this slightly larger hose, goes round to the back there to the middle, I don't know if you can see down there, middle of the inlet manifold. And then the two heater hoses come out from the car into the takeoffs on this pipe down here. So this pipe, upside down, goes to this reducer, which you can see just down there goes into an aluminium joiner, and then I just need a piece of rubber hose to go from there down to that bottom hose, which I haven't got at the moment. Once I've got those and all the Jubilee clips, I can fill it with water and run the engine for a little bit longer. I've fitted my radiator fan at the back there, which the plug is here. Okay, so I've got this relay I'm going to use for the radiator fan, so it'll have a 12 volt feed coming there, come out of there into this plug. The other lead on that plug will go to earth, then this will go into ECU plug, and when the ECU says turn on the fan, that relay will turn on that fan, so it'll be controlled as it was from factory, which is ideal. I've just started playing around with my master cylinders, so I've got these remote type master cylinders. So what I'm going to do is, that's where, let me just see if I can get this slide in. That's where the brake master cylinder is going to fit, just down there, the remote one. So the hose will come off the top there, round here, and then I'll mount this reservoir somewhere there. So I'm going to make a bracket that takes off where I've put that to mount that, and I'll have a separate one for the clutch master cylinder as well, which is the same sort of thing. But for the clutch, I've got to just take out that hole a little bit to make it a little bit bigger, because it doesn't quite fit in there. So I think that's going to be a job for when the engine's back out of the car. So I'm going to get the cooling system all sorted, wired up and plumbed and whatnot, and then we can and then I can run the engine for longer, check the fan comes in and see if it cools the engine down appropriately, and then once the engine's run for a bit longer, I'll have a better chance at seeing where my leaks are on the exhaust manifold. So at some point when I'm happy everything's as is, I've got to get the engine back out, take the subframe out of the car, finish some welding and paint it all. So